Right, folks, this one is mainly for those in GB, Great Britain. So if you're looking from overseas, this probably, well, the first part doesn't really affect you. The second part does. You'll have an opinion about the second part, no doubt about that. Yeah, there was a programme last night on the television over here on Sky Arts called, I think it was called something like The Greatest Guitar Riffs of All Time, or Great Guitar Riffs, or something of that ilk. I watched it myself. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. No doubt the rest of the world will view it in time, but I think it had its airing last night on Sky Arts, which is a TV station we have over here that covers music and film. And I think it's one of a programme of 3 or 4, a series of 3 or 4. And last night's programme centred on Tony Iommi. That is the guitarist from Black Sabbath for many a year. They say the godfather of heavy metal, and he's wrote many of the most well-known guitar riffs in rock over the last 30 or 40 years, maybe even 50 years. He was on there last night, and I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. They had a lot of guest musicians talking about the guy, and he talked to you about the various riffs that he's done and how he did them and how he went about them, and it was really informative. Thought it was really great. On the back of that, this is the bit that others from outside GB will have an opinion on. On the back of that, there was something in the newspaper today, which you've seen earlier. I think viewers of the show have voted for the top 10, the top 20 guitar riffs of all time. I've seen it in one newspaper and it had the top 10. In another newspaper today, it had the top 20. I'm going to read you the top 6. And I've got an opinion on them. And you'll get me opinion at the end. You know I'm never worried about giving an opinion, folks. You might not agree with it, but you're going to get it. Anyway, this is how it went. I'm going to give you the top 6, not the top 10. And I'm going to give them you in the correct order. I'll put the bins on for this. Don't want to get any wrong. Number 1, voted for by viewers of Sky Arts, was, and as follows, Sweet Child of Mine by the Gunners, Guns N' Roses. You may well know if you've watched the channel, we've got old Axl there in the news at the moment, very much for the wrong reasons, if you don't mind me saying. Number 2, and this one surprised me, didn't think it would have been there at all, was Purple Rain by the Purple Prince himself. Well, I didn't mind that at all, didn't expect it in there, but for my money, the greatest musician that's probably ever lived, the most talented, didn't expect him in there. The purple one is at number 2. Number 3, Sultans of Swing. More about those in a moment. Number 4, Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, a Ritchie Blackmore composition. Now, this is the one that I thought would have been at number 1. This is the song that guitarists say, if you walk into a guitar shop, most anywhere in the world, but especially in Great Britain and the US of A, 7 or 8 times out of 10, you'll have a young guitarist doing the chords and strum along Smoke on the Water. Everybody plays it. Anyway, it's in at number 4. Number 5 was Money for Nothing. Right, now that is by Dire Straits, as was number 3. Both great songs. I'm amazed they had any in the top 10. And to have 2 in the top 5 really, really, really surprised me. Nothing against them, but I thought they'd have heavier, louder, rockier songs than that in there. And I didn't think many had considered Dire Straits, but they have. And number 6, I'll stop here for a very good reason, is You Really Got Me by the Kinks. Anybody that's heard that will like that, loved it myself. I would suggest if you listen to the Van Halen version, it's miles, miles, miles superior, but it was done 10 or 15 years later. I think Eddie Van Halen is brilliant on that, but I think Lee Ross vocals. Anyway, I've digressed, I do it all the time. Right, the reason I think that has something about it is they actually mentioned it in the show last night, and Iommi said that was the one that us guitarists always listen to. That was the first riff of all time, as far as I'm concerned. And he said many guitarists think the same. And that riff, that opening few chords to You Really Got Me, changed the way people play guitar. And I think I understood what he meant there. Anyway, that was the top 6. I wonder what you felt. I thought to myself, when I looked at the top 10, I thought to myself, no Led Zeppelin? No Black Sabbath? No AC/DC? I mean, straight away I thought Highway to Hell would be in the top 10. You know, I mean, Riff Raff, when you hear the live version, what a start to a song that is. But I just thought to myself, I can't believe them 3 groups haven't made it. But that's what you get with polls. There's so many bands, there's so many groups, there's so many riffs. It's hard to get a top 10 or even a top 20. I think, to be honest with you, AC/DC, when it's in the top 20, I think they came 19th and 20th. And I think they came that with two songs sung from the Brian Johnson era. I had to put 3 or 4 from the Bon Scott era in front of anything that they did with Johnson, but that's just me. Maybe it's my age, I think it probably is. But as I read further, I read that the viewers also had voted the greatest guitarist of all time, the greatest riff maker of all time, as Brian May. And I thought, well, that just says it all for me. That just tells me the people voting on these polls, as is often the way, haven't got a clue what they're on about. Love Brian May, nothing against him at all. Love Queen, seen him live, fantastic, brilliant, no problem at all. And a great guitarist, yes he is. Is he in the top 5 of all time? No. Is he anywhere near the top 5 of all time? No. Not for me. Not for me at all. Yes, he's wrote some iconic songs. Brilliant guitarist. Love the guy. No worries with him at all. But how anybody can put Brian May above all the greats of guitar is completely beyond me. But then again, these are opinions, aren't they? They're subjective, and that is just my opinion. What do you think, folks? What would be your top 3 riffs of all time? Who'd be your top 3 guitarists of all time? Would you have Brian May as the top guitarist? Would you have had 2 Dire Straits ones in the top 10? I think many would have gone for Sweet Child of Mine as number 1, or a lot would have done. I think it's a great start to a song, it's fantastic. Have I heard probably other ones better? Yeah, maybe. I'll tell you what I probably might have had as number 1. I'll tell you what I would have probably had, and probably no one else would think of this. I love the start, and I mean love it with an absolute passion. Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. If you've not heard it, folks, please go and have a listen to it. Listen to the start of Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. Absolutely gold dust. For my money, in fact, I've not even thought about it just came to me then. I don't know if I've ever anything above that. And maybe these songs I've liked even more than that, they probably are. But as an opening guitar riff, and something I'd never heard the like of before, Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen really takes some beating. It's just genius from Eddie at the start there. It really is. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. That's my thoughts. I wonder what's yours, and I'd love some thoughts from across the pond in the great US of A there, because you've wrote some great songs over there, you've had some great guitar riffs, and you've had some great guitarists, like the great Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, et al. And the purple one.